how do you make your first coaching session so good that people cannot wait to get more coaching from you? Today, we're going to talk about how Peter runs his first sessions, and I'm super excited to interview you.
I'm Peter.
I'm Meg.
And we've both been coaches for over 10 years. I have worked with everyone from billionaires to line cooks, artists, scientists, professors, and all kinds of entrepreneurs.
And I've worked with everyone from professors at Ivy League universities to the US Space Force to space companies out in LA to stay-at-home moms, a whole variety of clients. And so we're excited to share how we structure our sessions with you, because it not only shows how we structure them, but that these can apply to all sorts of people in all sorts of situations. So your client comes to that very first session with you. What happens?
So I think about coaching as, like myself as a coach, being a keeper of dreams and a keeper of goals. And so that first session is all about kind of gathering all their dreams and goals into my basket. And the thing that I love about being the keeper of goals is that this first session that we do, I take so much time to really understand all of their goals and their dreams and getting really specific and what's important about it. But I get to bring that out for every other session. A lot of coaches will do a goal setting session with clients and then never talk about it again. And I'm taking really detailed notes so that in all the future sessions, I can refer back to these things that are really important. And that piece of like having the client feel like I'm holding their dreams, I'm remembering them, I'm reminding them of the dreams that they had and the goals that they set. There's this like surrender into the container. And there's also like the sense of journey that clients get where they're like, oh, I'm on a journey. They're on that hero's journey. And so it actually preps them to take bigger and bolder action because they feel like they're being held in maybe like a storybook,
Yeah.
the storybook of their own life. And they're becoming the main character of their own life. When they set these goals, they're centering themselves in their life. I've actually had clients have a goal of becoming the main character of their life. It's really a beautiful thing.
That's cool. Okay, so first session that Peter does, goal setting. He's collecting their dreams. He's putting them in his coaching basket. And then he is getting to know those dreams and maybe asking more questions than anybody ever has and really helping the client clearly define them so that those goals become the backbone of the relationship.
Yeah, often people have never had a conversation entirely about them and what they want, like ever. And sometimes people just cry because they realize, like I had one client just start weeping. She was like, I'm allowed to want things like this? She'd never had that. And so I do it in a pretty structured way. So I'd say, what do you want? And I'll take some time to deepen that. What's important to you about that? And what's important about that? And I'll kind of dial down to the core value. This is also an exercise that Megan and I teach. We'll probably do a video on of like mining for those values. So I really get like, why does this matter? And then going up to like, what would that look like? What would it smell like? What would that taste like? How would you know that you had arrived? And often when I'm doing this session, I teach a distinction that's really important. And that is called enough, right? How would you know that you've arrived? How would you know that there's enough? So many people have goals that are vague and endless. And that is such a recipe for endless misery of never arriving, of as Brene Brown calls it, like hustling for worthiness. And so part of goal setting that's so beautiful is that they can see an end, a place where they can arrive. And when they arrive, and that's amazing. I've had clients arrive and they're like, holy shit, what do I do now?
Okay, so I have to recap this because this is brilliant. So goal setting, like what's the goal? Why does it matter to you? What's the core value? What's the measure of success? That might be another way to say it if you're thinking about SMART goals, right? But then this measure of enoughness. So it's not just enough to measure of success, but then also inviting them to like define what enough would be. Is that it? Oh, so good.
Yeah, and it's so important because so many people are like, I want to be successful. Well, what does that mean? Well, like make a lot of money. Well, like how much? Well, like, I don't know, like more than I do now, right? And so they just never feel like enough. And these can be people who are making like $400,000 a year, and that's like not enough. Usually what we find is like it's coming from like some deep messaging from parents or school or media And they're just really, it's a function of them trying to arrive at some deeper core thing, which is why I always say, like, and what's underneath that, and what's important about that. And so not only do I get clear on what they want to accomplish, we get clear on like a future where their way of being, right? Because I do not just what do you want to accomplish, but who do you want to be? They actually see a light at the end of the tunnel where it's like, oh, I envision a life where I wake up excited to go have my day, do things that fulfill me, and feel good inside of it. And there's a way that as they picture it, it comes into the realm of possibility. And usually that's just never been a thing that people have even considered. It's like, oh, I want to be successful because I want to be able to feel relaxed and that I'm doing enough in my life. And so part of sometimes what we do is we throw out the other stuff and practice. So I call it starting at the end. What if we were to just start by practicing letting what you do be enough? And so it just blows people's paradigm out of the water. And, sometimes they're ready to begin at the end on the next session. And other times, and much more often, they need 6 or 8 months before they're like, damn, I remember that first conversation we had. I think I'm ready to beginning at the end.
I don't understand what you mean by begin at the end. Can you explain it a different way?
So let's say the client comes in, they're like, I want to be successful. And I'm like, got it. What's important to you about that? Well, I just want to feel like I honor my parents. Okay, and if you honored your parents, then what would you have? And they're like, well, then I would feel like a good son. I was like, okay, and if you were a good son, what would that allow you to do or be? I'm like, oh, then I could feel content and enough, right? And like, I could wake up and feel just fundamentally okay. And so sometimes people are ready to work on that the next day. That's actually their coaching request is like, I want to work on just practicing feeling like enough.
So beginning at the end means that you look at what they would have if they achieve that goal, and that is what the end is.
So if we separate, it's like they have all these strategies. I'm going to try and get a big house and a better job and a nicer car, and then I'll feel content. And so we say, okay, here's all those strategies. Sometimes they're like, yeah, I still want to work on those strategies. And other times they're like, cool, these strategies are just a means to an end. Let's work on the end.
Got it. Yeah, so what I like about this is that on your goal setting sessions, the first call with your clients, you're talking about, it could be goals like new car, new house, better job, more money, and it's also the ontological goals, the goals around their being, how they feel, what energy they embody. And for you, maybe they're complementary, maybe one ends up being more important than the other, but you get to look both places with your clients.
Exactly. Yeah. And then from there, I have like all of it structured out and written, and I send that to them, and I keep that at the bottom of my notes, and I like bold the most important bits. So in every session I'm having, that's like right below like where I'm taking notes. So I'm always aware of like what their big goals are.
I love that. I feel like every time we talk about your sessions, I learn something new, right? And so it's really fun to hear about how you're doing your first sessions, because I know it's evolved over time. And I think what I'm taking away is just a renewed excitement to talk about goals with my clients and really dig in. In fact, I'm thinking about making that my second call now, like a much deeper dive into their goals. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. And we'd love to hear what you all took from this video. So you can leave a comment below and make sure to like. And if you want us to keep creating this content for free, if you want to support this project, go ahead and subscribe.
Yeah, it's a zero-cost way to support us and help get this to more coaches. We've also made a video about how Megan conducts her first session, and we've also done videos about how we both prepare for that session. If you want to see those, go ahead and check those out in the description below.